After taking a few days to mourn the loss of the 2022 New York Yankees season, we have some things to discuss, don't we? This video will be my rant, season wish list, and the most likely things that the Yankees are going to do. So get locked in, Yankee fans, because there's a lot that has to be said by this New York Yankee team heading into 2023. So let's get into it. What is going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And as I said in the open, this 2022 New York Yankees season has now been put to bed. So we have to begin looking at the potential for 2023. The offseason following the World Series in 2022 and figuring out what not just went wrong in 2022 and how to fix it for 2023, but how to make it go and become more sustainable beyond just the 2023 season. So I have quite a few things to say about this year, quite a few things that I want to happen for the New York Yankees going into this offseason and into the next year's campaign in 2023. So let's get the elephant in the room right off the bat. It's already been said that Aaron Boone is staying. So I'm not going to waste my breath going into the year after year after year situation that we deal with in having Aaron Boone as the manager. I'm not going to waste my breath on it. And to be completely honest, Brian Cashman's not going anywhere either. Now, at the time of this recording, Hal Steinbrenner has already had comments about Boone. There's not really being a change there. Nothing has been said. Cashman is set to be done with his contract this year, but Cashman is essentially the fifth Steinbrenner child, so I don't foresee him going anywhere either. Unless Cashman decides he wants a change, I don't see him going anywhere either. So rather than wasting our time with that, we're going to move past that. That's two things that we're not going to see change, in my opinion, so there's no reason to continue dwelling and harping on it. We're going to move past it and try to figure out how to make this team better in 2023 to be able to win the World Series and make us a consistent World Series, not just contender, but winner. That to me is the ultimate goal. So looking back at this ALCS, because that's really where we need to start. The season had its ups and downs. We had a very good start to the year, looking like we were going to be one of the greatest teams to ever go down in Major League Baseball history. Then things started to squander a little bit. A 500 July, and August was a downright just complete collapse of epic and utter proportions, leading us to finish we had a strong September, so we finished with 99 wins, but there's no question that when you look at what this franchise is and should be, that there's no doubt the Yankees should have finished in a much higher seat, in a much higher position, with a much higher record, and not having finished the season in a sweep to the hands of the Houston Astros. There's no doubt. During the ALCS, the Yankees would have a batting average of 162, an OPS of 502, only 3 home runs, and they would have 50 strikeouts. To me, that is a completely unacceptable number. Yes, there's going to be swing and misses with this team because they are a home run dependent team. We would start to see certain things get changed, get done a little bit differently in terms of how the regular season played out. Overall in the regular season, while there were some blunders in terms of the fielding, for the most part, the Yankees were a much better fielding team in 2022 than they were in 2021. Slight improvement there. They had a much better pitching staff, in my opinion, in 2022 than they had in 2021. Slight improvement there. There were some changes during the regular season in terms of putting the ball in play more. However, in the postseason, which is really what matters, which is really what counts, we did not see that same emphasis put on putting the ball simply into play. Everyone went up to bat looking to hit a 535-foot home run that would lead to 12 runs for that single hit when the bases were empty. And you can't have that approach, not in the postseason. In the postseason, you're dealing with the teams that have had the best pitching, and you're seeing the best of their relievers, except when you play against the Yankees because they have complete mismanagement of their bullpen, but another story for another time. Simply put, the New York Yankees have to have a better postseason approach. If you have the approach that you have for your regular season, and you have to completely change how you look at your team for the postseason, then there's a problem with your regular season team. It's not about winning the most games in the regular season. The Dodgers did that and they got eliminated by the Padres. It's about winning in the postseason. That's all that matters to us as Yankee fans. So there's quite a few players coming up for free agency from the New York Yankees. Notable names: Aaron Judge, Jameson Taillon, Aroldis Chapman, who we'll get into in a moment, Chad Green, Zach Britton, Miguel Castro, Matt Carpenter, Marwin Gonzalez are kind of the big notable names that are coming up for free agency. We can also see an opt-out by Anthony Rizzo. He has that option. And we know that the Yankees have a club option on Luis Severino. In my opinion, the New York Yankees have 4 big needs. They need a new shortstop, a new left fielder, a leadoff hitter, and another quality starting pitcher. If the Yankees can address those 4 areas, in my opinion, and obviously there are some fringes helps that we can do along the way as well. You can never have enough bullpen help, but we'll get into more of that in just a moment when we go over kind of the to-do list, the wish list that I have for the New York Yankees. Let's begin with Aroldis Chapman. He's a free agent, and I said it before, I'll say it here again now. His time with the New York Yankees is absolutely over, but even more so, I believe that his time as a major league player is over. The demonstration that he had in not showing up to a mandatory workout because he was not guaranteed a spot on the postseason roster is not just disrespectful to his teammates who could have potentially relied on him, but also to the sport of Major League Baseball. If Chapman were someone who was a bit more reliable coming out of the bullpen, no matter what his track record, what his pedigree has been, it's what you have shown and done for me lately. That's what this sport really just goes to show you. What have you done for me lately? And Chapman's latest outburst on the mound would show that he's not reliable. Now, there is a chance that he may get picked up from a lower market team looking to take a flyer on somebody that has a name notoriety. There's a possibility he may end up going to someplace like the Marlins, where he's close to home. But his time with, to me, a contending team is likely over. Zach Britton's going to be facing injury issues and questions and concerns. He's likely not going to be picked up on any sort of major league deal. And when you look at what a guy like Marwin Gonzalez, I'm sure someone's going to take a flyer on him because of his ability to be so versatile and play so many different positions. But as we've seen over the last couple of seasons, there's been a lot of questions as to how good he can truly be at this age and this state of his career. Yes, he's not getting a lot of playing time as he did when he was with the Astros back in 2017. But at the same time, the time that he has gotten has not been reflected well in terms of his talent and ability at this point. So what are the Yankees to do? What are they to do with this offseason? So there's a few things that right off the bat we have to get into. So as you can see, the shirt from RotoWire here. The first need, absolute must on the to-do list, the number one priority for this offseason has to be re-signing Aaron Judge. Without Aaron Judge, the Yankees not only become the basement dwellers of the American League East division, but they find themselves going through a season very similar to what they had in August. And I truly believe that. There are extremely talented players on this team outside of even Aaron Judge, but Judge carried this Yankee roster. Without Aaron Judge, this team falters and honestly didn't get off to the start that it got off to without Judge. Aaron will put up a 62 home run campaign. and needed all of them to be able to help the Yankees get to the point that they got to. So there's very little question that without re-signing Aaron Judge, the Yankees are going nowhere very quickly. And even no matter if they signed all the rest of the best free agents available, figured out where to play them no matter what, just signed all the rest, to me, they still are lacking if they don't bring back Aaron Judge. And just to kind of air this out, because this is another thing that just really grinds my gears. Yankee fans booing Aaron Judge. Yes, his postseason performance was abysmal. There's no way around that. No way around it. But this is the captain of our squad. This is the player that has carried this team all season long. And yes, his postseason performances over the last several years have not been the greatest. And not making excuses for Judge, because his performance in the postseason has to be better. He'll say so himself. But the fact is that this man carried this team for 6 months of the regular season. Yes, he went through a cold spell. And I think it was brought on because of this home run chase. I think that if Aaron was stuck in the 50s somewhere where it was obvious he wasn't going to get to 61, let alone 62, he wouldn't have gone through the mental struggle, the anguish that it put him through to try to get to that mark, which led to him kind of having a worse approach and a different approach than what he had all season long. To me, that's where Aaron found himself this particular season, this particular postseason. But booing our captain at the most critical time just makes no sense, because in reality that can leave a very poor taste in his mouth and make it so that he does not want to return to the Yankees. The simple fact is that this player carried our team, and yes, he struggled. He'll admit it himself, and has. But there's no reason to sit here and point the blame at him when the rest of the team wasn't hitting either. It wasn't just Judge that was struggling. Where everyone else was hitting, we were all doing well, he comes up and costs us the season. No. We got almost no production offensively outside of Harrison Bader and Anthony Rizzo in the postseason. So this goes beyond Aaron Judge. Now, the next thing that the Yankees must do is pick up Luis Severino's option. It's a $15 million option, and we need Sevy back in the rotation. We would see a very good performance out of Severino through the last several weeks of the season after he came back off the injured list. And when you look at what this rotation would be without Severino in 2023, it's lacking, and makes it so that you have to go out even more so into the free agent market if you don't pick up his option. To me, it's the smart move, it's the right move, and one of the moves that are most likely going to be made by the New York Yankees. Now, the next thing that the Yankees will likely do and are on my to-do list is if Anthony Rizzo does decide to opt out, they need to figure out another deal to bring him back. Rizzo is not just a leader in the clubhouse, but he provides something not just in the lineup, but in the leadership that he shows and his approach at the plate. This is a left-handed bat, which is extremely important for this right-handed heavy dominant lineup that the Yankees have. He provides a different look. And we heard a whole lot about the lanes. And the simple fact is that when opposing managers are putting together their plan for your lineup in the postseason, you're looking to see what spot you can plug in your big left-handed bat, your big right-handed bat, eliminator when you're coming out of the bullpen. You have your guy who comes out to get those big lefty bats, who comes to get those big right-handed bats. And for the Yankees being so right-handed dependent, you have these guys that come in with these hard sliders, and you have your righty bats just chasing them. Anthony Rizzo helps balance the lineup and extend the lineup because you now plug him in between, and you can't just go to that guy who throws that hard sinker, that hard slider down and away, and really eliminate the effectiveness of your right-handed bats, because Rizzo can take that and put one into the short porch in Yankee Stadium and really change the outlook of that inning. So it's extremely important that if Rizzo decides to opt out, and he may not, more than likely he will, the Yankees have to bring him back. He is very pivotal for the way that this lineup and this team is built out, and he's a leader in that clubhouse. The next thing that I think the Yankees need to do is re-sign Chad Green. Yes, Green is coming a free agent, and he's going to be injured. But the Yankees can do what the Dodgers did a couple of seasons ago with Tommy Kahnle. You sign him to a 2-year deal knowing that the first you're not really going to get much of anything, but you're able to get something out of that second year. Because he's going to be injured, you're going to have the ability and the option to kind of buy low and sell high, where if he goes through this rehab process, gets back onto the field and hits certain metrics, he can get extra bonuses for getting to those metrics. To me, that's the best move for the Yankees and for Chad Green, because he was having a very good year up until the injury. And because he missed so much time because of it, you don't really know what you're going to get. So you are taking a risk if you're the Yankees. But to me, it's a risk worth taking, because I think that when Chad Green is healthy and pitching at his best, this is one of the most dominant relievers that we've seen in Major League Baseball over the last several years. So being able to really put this player back into the organization, be able to bring him back, allow him to take that time necessary to rehab and get back to being on the mound and being dominant as we have seen him before, is going to be something that the Yankees can do, can afford to do, and need to do for not just themselves, but also for Chad Green. Now, the last thing on the Yankee to-do list, in my opinion, is going to be really mimicking the Atlanta Braves. And when I say that, I say this to say that we need to start locking up long-term our young players, right? Because as we've seen with Atlanta, they are building a dynasty for the future. They have pretty much everyone of importance on their roster locked up long-term. The Yankees need to start following that same blueprint. Alex Anthopoulos is one of the best general managers in baseball, and he has gone about this in an extremely underrated way, in my opinion. I don't think that he's getting nearly enough credit and nearly enough conversation in terms of what he's been able to do with these young players. We covered Anthopoulos here on the channel and what he's been able to do earlier this season. I will leave links to that video down in the show notes below, so make sure you check that out. But in doing so, I think the Yankees need to lock up Nestor Cortez, Kyle Higashioka, Jose Trevino, and Oswaldo Cabrera. Yes, it may seem like a weird quartet of players to lock up long-term, but I think when you have the pairing of Trevino and Higashioka that you have behind the plate, that all of the Yankee pitchers love throwing to, and given their defensive abilities, you're hoping that the rest of this team can pick up the offensive slack that may be missing from those two catchers. But by having the defensive nature that they have, you allow this team to be able to kind of forget about that part of it. Are these guys going to be, Yadier Molina in his prime? No, probably not. But are they going to be good enough right now in terms of the catchers in Major League Baseball? Absolutely. Being able to lock up a guy like Nestor Cortez really gives the Yankees a versatile option. With what Nestor has done over the last several years, this is absolutely a phenomenal story and an incredible arm for the Yankees. It also is a different look, because the Yankees rotation for the last several years has been extremely right-handed dominant, and being able to have a lefty like Nestor, who, yes, is not going to be extremely overpowering, but he's going to be able to mix and match, change speed, change deliveries. This is a type of feel that is very different from what the Yankees are featuring with the rest of their starters. So it's going to be important being able to bring back a guy like Nestor, give him some long-term stability, and give the Yankees some long-term stability in that rotation. When you look at what that provides the Yankees, this is a very good player, a player that is beloved in the clubhouse, beloved by fans, and you allow yourself to really start to build out this team for the long-term success of the franchise. Not just a year kind of mixing and matching, figuring out what works and doesn't, and just tossing away certain things. You start to build and establish the future. You start to build this foundation. We have Garrett Cole for a long time. We have Giancarlo Stanton for a long time. Outside of that, we don't really know what the future of this team holds in, let's say, the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. So being able to bring a guy like Nestor in, give him a long-term extension, you now allow yourself and afford yourself the opportunity to build out another portion of the foundation for this franchise. And when it comes to Oswaldo, very little question. This has been one of the biggest bright spots for the Yankees over the last several months of the regular season. his energy, the enthusiasm that he plays with, and not to mention the versatility that he has shown. This was a player that played 4 or 5 games in the outfield prior to getting called up to the major leagues and became one of the most pivotal outfielders for the Yankees during the regular season. Yes, there were some botches in terms of his defensive ability in left field, something that he hadn't gotten a lot of time to play in the postseason, where it was the most critical. But more time spent being able to be versatile, being able to play and learn those different positions allows the Yankees to have that comfort and that flexibility with their roster. Not to mention that this is a switch hitter, capable of providing you some power on the right side and a little bit more contact effort on the right. Having him locked up long term, very similar to how the Braves have done with their infielders, is going to be extremely important to the Yankees. Again, building your foundation out for the next 5 to 10 years is really what you want to start to see from the New York Yankees right now. This could be a very pivotal season for the Yankees in terms of what their future is going to look like. This offseason is going to be extremely critical because if you don't re-sign Aaron Judge, now you have to figure out what your franchise looks like for the next 5 to 10 years. Even if you re-sign Aaron Judge, this is a pivotal moment to figure out who you are as a franchise, as an organization going forward. Being able to lock up some of these very talented young players long-term to lower cost, more team-friendly deals, which is what you'd be able to do right now for them, really brings in the opportunity to set the Yankee franchise up for a long time coming. Rather than waiting out, as we've seen with Judge, as we've seen happen to Mookie Betts with the Red Sox, when you wait out and you get to this end point, you now are left with essentially no leverage as an organization, essentially no options to be able to truly get what you would be looking for as a franchise with a hometown discount. You don't have that option when you wait this late. If you do it early enough, you can have these players get locked up, having that financial security, having that hometown discount that you're looking for as an organization only happens when you do it early. Yes, there's a risk because you could lock up these players and they can get injured, they can get hurt, they can get absolutely just fall off the face of the earth when it comes to their talent and ability. But you have to take that risk if you're going to get the reward back of being able to have these players play for your organization at a much more team-friendly cost. Now, one of the other things that is very likely to happen is the Yankees are likely going to re-sign Jameson Taillon. I think that he has been a solid fit for the Yankees. When you look at what the Yankee rotation would be without Taillon, you're looking at Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino, Frankie Montas, and Domingo Germán. Nothing against Germán, but I don't think that he is as good as Jameson Taillon in terms of being a long-term starting pitching option. So the Yankees are likely going to revisit that contract. Taillon has said he has loved his time in New York and will likely find a way to come to some middle ground, some common ground, and bring him back, giving the Yankees a serious 5-man rotation. Now, with that being said, let's get into what my wish list items would be. Now, first and foremost, obviously, there's some players on this roster that we would like to see gone. Most notably, Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks. And I think that IKF would really find himself on this list, but I like the idea of having IKF as a backup. I don't want him as my everyday shortstop. I want him as a versatile player on my bench being able to move around. He's capable of playing shortstop, second base, third base, and most notably catcher as well. Being able to have that kind of versatility in a backup player is very good, so I don't foresee the Yankees trading away IKF. I also wouldn't want them to trade him away. Like I said, keeping him as a backup to me is a good move, but I don't want him as my everyday starting shortstop. The man and the player that I want as my everyday starting shortstop, I've already covered it here on the channel. I will leave links to that video down in the show notes, but it is Carlos Correa. I think that if you bring Correa in, this is going to be a player that brings an attitude, a brashness, and a feeling of bringing the villain back to New York, bringing the evil back into the evil empire. The Yankees have been friendly. They have been almost soft to this point. And I think that if you get back to having a bit of an edge, and yes, Donaldson brought an edge, but it was the wrong kind. I think Correa brings the right edge to the New York Yankees. And by doing so, you allow him to not just be one of the best defensive shortstops, but also a pivotal player in your lineup, capable of not just hitting home runs, but also hitting for average. I think that Correa is the kind of player that the Yankees really need to put into their lineup day in and day out to give themselves not just that edge again in the field, but also in their persona, in their just the aura around the club. Doing that allows the Yankees to get back to being the bad guys of baseball, and that to me is where they play their best brand of baseball. Now, as I said, Jameson Taillon is likely going to be re-signed by the New York Yankees. But I think that one player that the Yankees should really look at, who we've already know is going to opt out, is Jacob deGrom. Yes, the ace of the crosstown rival New York Mets is likely going to find himself on the free agent market. And the Yankees should do just about everything that it would take to bring this player over. If they were to go similar to what Justin Verlander has done with kind of higher deals in terms of average annual value instead of the number of years, to me is a solid move. We would see Max Scherzer with the Mets do the same thing. He's making like $40 million a year, $43 million a year, but only on a 3-year deal. I think that the Yankees and deGrom could find themselves on a similar ground, bringing in deGrom from the crosstown rival Mets to pitch for the New York Yankees, co-acing with Garrett Cole, and having two of the best 3 pitchers in Major League Baseball right now in the Bronx. If you do that, you allow the Yankees to really lengthen out that rotation and allow them to have now Frankie Montas slot into that 5th spot of the rotation. Garrett Cole, Jacob deGrom, Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino, Frankie Montas is a much more devastating starting rotation than with Jameson Taillon. Not a knock on Taillon, because I do believe that he is a solid starter. But to me, when you can have the opportunity to go after a guy like deGrom, you go after a guy like deGrom. And yes, there's going to be questions about his health. There's no doubt about it. But to me, if you can find a healthy Jacob deGrom, you go after a healthy Jacob deGrom. Now, 2 other players that I would like the Yankees to pursue this offseason would be the closer for the New York Mets, Edwin Diaz. Yes, Azúcar is very, very volatile on the mound, and sometimes he loses control of those pitches, similar to how we have seen with Aroldis Chapman. However, to me, watching the way that Diaz has kind of matured over this past season with the New York Mets, this is a dynamic arm that could really lock down the back end of the Yankee bullpen. Clay Holmes has done a good job, but he started to fall off after the All-Star break. Being able to slot him back a role in an inning allows the Yankees to kind of build out the back end of that bullpen towards a dominant reliever, a dominant closer, as they had for all those dynastic runs before. Now, is Edwin Diaz Mariano Rivera? No, absolutely not. But can he be similarly dominant in this day and age? Yes, he can. So bringing in a guy like Diaz to kind of help ease the burden of that Yankee bullpen that to me is still one of the best in baseball, you now give yourself even more of an opportunity to control the narrative, control the game from not just the starting end, but also in the closing end. If you can shorten the game between your aces going deeper, like by having a guy like Garrett Cole, Jacob deGrom, Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino, to then having a guy like Edwin Diaz at the back end with guys like Clay Holmes, Jonathan Loaiza, Wandy Peralta being able to set up in between, you really shorten the length of games and how hard and how long games could easily be for the New York Yankees. Now, for the New York Yankees, there's one player that is on the free agent market, another outfielder that I would really like for them to pursue for 2 reasons. One, it is a player capable of playing left field and playing it quite well, in my opinion, defensively, but also because this is a legitimate leadoff hitter. I think that the Yankees have found themselves struggling this past season in 2022 because they were missing key things. And 3 key things, in my opinion, was a solid shortstop, a left fielder, and a leadoff hitter. Brandon Nimmo serves as 2 of those 3. He can be your everyday left fielder as well as your leadoff guy. I think that when you look at what Nimmo can be for the New York Yankees, not just as a left fielder who can control out there, be able to man the grounds, as the center field and left field in New York Yankees are extremely hard to play in Yankee Stadium. Nimmo can handle that left field because he has played a lot of his time for the Mets in center. I think that you have the opportunity to put him at the leadoff spot ahead of guys like Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, who's going to be back and healthy next season. When you have a guy like Nimmo ahead leading off, you allow him, who's a pesky at bat, who's a pesky hitter, who can really control the strike zone as well. You will now lengthen the amount of pitches that it takes to get through the first half of the inning for the New York Yankee lineup. when you have to go through a guy like Nimmo who's going to take pitches, Judge who's going to battle and take pitches, Rizzo who's going to battle and take pitches, you now lengthen the Yankees lineup in an extreme way. I think that when you look at what Nimmo could be for the Yankees, this could be the linchpin that really puts them over the top. Again, it's all going to be predicated on whether or not you re-sign Aaron Judge. But to me, regardless of whether you re-sign Aaron Judge or not, Brandon Nimmo should be one of the higher priced options, the higher wish list options for the New York Yankees. So when we look at it, trading away Aaron Hicks and Josh Donaldson would be very high on my list as well of my wish list, to-do list, whatever you want to call it, for the New York Yankees in this 2022-2023 offseason. Is it going to be easy? No. You're likely going to have to eat money on both of those deals. Yes, the Yankees have been very money conscious, I would say, over the last several years. But as we saw in 2022, their payroll was up in the 260s. So at this point, the Yankees are going over the threshold. It's time to keep going. Keep building this team out. Yes, do you have to have a $300 million payroll in order to win the World Series? No. But when you are the New York Yankees and you have that ability to flex that financial muscle, it is time to start doing so. We have not been and won a World Series since 2009. It is far too long that the New York Yankees have not even seen or sniffed the World Series. It is time to get back to being the evil empire. It is time to get back to being the Bronx Bombers. It is time to get back to being the World Series champions. So I want to hear from you, Yankee fans. Let me know your thoughts on my wish list, on what I think the Yankees are going to do. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings on how the 2020 season played out, what you would like them to do this offseason heading into the 2023 campaign. Let me know all of these things down in the comment section below, or you can find me over on Twitter at banter_baseball, and we can keep the conversation rolling. Again, the Yankees had a disappointing season this year, being swept in the championship series. It's been very clear what this franchise, what this fan base looks for. It is all measured in championships. So another fail, but I think that with this plan that I've put together, if the Yankees follow it, we can have not just one banner raised in 2023, but multiple over the seasons. Let me know those thoughts again down in the comment section below. Find me over on Twitter, banter_baseball. Keep it locked into our entire GLMG family with Wishlist and the Granite Geek Show. And of course, here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast by hitting the subscribe button on all three channels. Check out our partner Lids through the link in the description, the show notes below. And head over to baseballbanterbroadcast.com. Use the promo code Judge for MVP to save 10% off your order. Keep it locked in all season as we continue to look at the postseason as it continues to play out for the World Series run between the Astros and the Phillies, as well as the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Let's go Yankees. Peace.